Korea and North Korea will be more interesting than Japan. Japan is going to be business as usual. Offer them defense contracts, beef up their army, even though it's unconstitutional. Okay, and that's it. You know, I'm skipping this press conference, by the way, because it's boring. Even I'm not that big of a weeb. All right, it's the most expected press conference of all time. Obviously, Shigeru Ishiba, and I've been following this on the Japanese news side. The entire Japanese foreign policy or American relationship hinges on how hard you can glaze Trump. It's the Shinzo Abe method. This is something that Japanese news media has talked about quite frequently during Shinzo Abe's reign as well, where there's this one famous photo of all the world leaders that are like kind of trying to dominate Donald Trump, and he's just sitting there like this with a smug face and Shinzo Abe is actually the only world leader that is copying Trump, also crossing his arms. That is a picture that in Japanese news was basically a summary of how Shinzo Abe chose to deal with Donald Trump, and that is precisely what they're going to continue doing. That's what the LDP is going to continue to do. I think this is not a very here it is. This is not a very interesting relationship. Like, I don't think that. Yeah, as you can see right here, this was the photo that summarizes like the Japanese relationship with Donald Trump the first time around. Obviously, Shinzo is now dead. He was assassinated, but they've always had a fairly solid relationship because of this, and this is what the Japanese hopes are, that they don't get destroyed like Canada or whatever, right? Or even threatened like Canada, even if Canada is not getting destroyed and there's a pause put on the tariffs. So it's an uninteresting relationship overall. I think what is infinitely more interesting is what Donald Trump will do with South Korea. Because as you guys know, just wondering, but is this camera angle temporary? I like it, but not sure if it's about to go back to the usual one. Dude, I think this is one of the only negative aspects of streaming on Twitch with a neurodivergent audience, is that like you just don't care about anything that's going on. This is the real camera angle, and I will, once I fix the camera angle and fix the autofocus and fix the lighting, this is the camera angle I'm going to go back to, okay? But for the time being, enjoy Kaya. Anyway, as I was saying, I think the real interesting relationship, the real interesting dynamic will be with South Korea. Why? Because South Korea is a place where there is a lot of instability. The LDP's power and influence has diminished over the past couple of decades, and it's pretty significant because for the most part, Japan has been a one-party rule leadership, even though there's a lower house and upper house, there's a theoretical democracy, but ultimately it's mostly just the one party that has dominated the country's politics in perpetuity post-World War II. Having said that, however, despite its influence diminishing a little bit, the LDP's influence diminishing a little bit, what's really interesting is South Korea. South Korea has real instability right now. There was a martial law and a false coup that failed. And Donald Trump's relationship with South Korea has also always been interesting. Is the audio still not synchronized? If it's not synchronized, it's on your end. You might have to refresh. Okay? You are a fucking racist as fuck. Team Asiad? What? Oh, is it because you wrote in Arabic and it auto-tagged Fawzabot? Yeah. Sorry, Team Asiad. You can't write in Arabic. The reason why, or any other languages really, and the reason why is because, you know, I don't speak either of those languages, so I can't moderate adequately. You are not in sync. If I am not in sync, it might be because you need to refresh, like I said. What is this? Your ops got no motion? What? Dude, come on. Please stop. Even as a joke, I don't want to see what Ethan is doing, okay? I'm over here trying to explain foreign policy. It's unironically desynced and refreshing does not fix it. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. I give up. I'm sorry. Anyway, what Donald Trump will do with South Korea and North Korea will be more interesting than Japan. Japan is going to be business as usual. Offer them defense contracts, beef up their army, even though it's unconstitutional. Okay, and that's it.
非常にこの件に関してもこれから私たちは取り組む予定でありますけども、特に自動車工場というものは素晴らしいものになると思います。米国への投資が進み、自動車を米国で作るということ、これは非常に良いビジネスになると思います。多くの国々からこういった投資がありますけども、これはひとえに米国の税制があるからだと思います。ですので、こういった業務というものはこれからもどんどん進んでいくことを期待します。トヨタ氏ですけども、
Can you translate us on? No.
あります。
Any other things? To what extent will you discuss North Korea today, sir? It'll always be a topic, especially with Japan. We will be discussing North Korea and many other things. We'll be spending pretty much the day, but that's always a topic.
I gotta pee.
Have you changed your mind about the sale of U.S. steel?
No, I think we're going to be discussing that today. No, I haven't, and I hear we'll have some pretty good information on that. You might want to go.
Tariffs an option, Mr. President?
Have you? Okay.
President, are tariffs an option if the deficit doesn't get to equilibrium or to equality?
Yes, they are.
Mr. President, can you discuss what your plan is for reciprocal trade? Are you signing an EO on that today?
I'll be announcing that next week, reciprocal trade, so that we're treated evenly with other countries. We don't want any more or any less. So I'll be announcing that next week. And many other things having to do not even with trade, but other things. But I'll be talking about reciprocal trade sometime next week. We'll have a news conference and we'll lay it out. Pretty simple.
Every single country?
It affects everybody, yeah. Reciprocal, yeah. We'll be talking about that next week.
出社にちょっと伺いたいんですけれども、今関税を課すっていう話になってるんですけど、関税が課されることについてはどのように考えていらっしゃいますか？
お互いにそれが利益になるようにということが重要なことだと思っております。合衆国の発展、そして日本国の発展、そのために有益な制度となることを期待をしておりまして、具体的なことについてはまだこれからということになります。
I understand that the key point in this regard is to make that for mutually beneficial. That means that would benefit the development of the United States as well as the development of Japan. And I do hope that whatever measures and actions should meet this criteria, meaning that serving the interest of both countries. But as to specifics, I understand that we are going to have further discussion.
Correct.
Mr. President, are there any specific concessions that you will be asking for from Japan that you can share?
But we'll be having, I think it'll be very easy for Japan. We have a fantastic relationship. I don't think we'll have any problem whatsoever. They want fairness also.
それはうまく進むと思います。日本は素晴らしいパートナーですし、彼らもことがスムーズに進むことを期待していると思います。これは双方にとってです。
Mr. President, do you have a reaction to the new Time magazine cover that has Elon Musk sitting behind
Drama.
your Resolute desk?
タイムマガジンにイーロン・マスクが
He
大統
doesn't
領の
like
机
it.
の後ろで
No,
座って
don't
写真が
translate that. Don't translate that. That's embarrassing. He does not like it. That's the type of stuff. That's the type of stuff that actually does get to Trump. Like, yeah, sure, it's silliness, but Trump is silly. That's it. That is exactly the type of stuff that Donald Trump actively gets annoyed by.
りますけども、それに関するコメントは何かありますか？
Is Time Magazine still in business? I didn't even know that.
まだタイムマガジンは廃刊じゃないんですか？
Elon is doing a great job.
Yeah, they're like forcing themselves to laugh at this. They're like, ah ha ha ha, you are so funny. You are so funny, Mr. President. Yeah, we also hate Time Magazine. It's like, bro, you're Japanese. What are you talking about? Why would you ever care about, you know, fake news media and Time Magazine?
He's finding tremendous fraud and corruption and waste. You see it with the USAID, but you're going to see it even more so with other agencies and other parts of government. He's got a staff that's fantastic. He's wanted to be able to do this for a long time, and everybody else knew it was existent, but I think never so much when you look at USAID. That's a fraud. The whole thing is a fraud. Very little being put to good use. Every single line that I look at in terms of events and transactions is either corrupt or ridiculous. And we're going to be doing that throughout government. And I think we're going to be very close to balancing budgets for the first time in many years. I think we're going to be very close to, in addition to monies coming in from tariffs, et cetera, but no, he's doing a very good job. I'm very happy with it.
Will you put Elon Musk up on the podium for us to ask him some questions, Mr. President, at any point? Will you put Elon Musk up on the podium for us to ask him some questions?
Oh, sure, he'll be. He's not shy. Elon's not shy.
Any further deliberations on Gaza, sir? The timetable for a takeover?
No deliberations. It's been very well received, where basically the United States would view it as a real estate transaction, where we'll be an investor in that part of the world, and no rush to do anything. We wouldn't need anybody there. It would be supplied and given to us by Israel. They'll watch it in terms of security. We're not talking about boots in the ground or anything, but I think the fact that we're there, that we have an investment there, I think would go a long way to creating peace. We don't want to see everybody move back and then move out in 10 years. This has been going on for 50 years, much more than that. We just want to see stability. That would be having us have that particular piece in that particular location, I think would show great stability and would lead to great stability in the area for very little money, very little price, and we wouldn't need soldiers at all. That will be taken care of by others. And the investments are taken care of by others also. So for no investment, I mean virtually no investment whatsoever, it would bring stability to the area, and others can invest in it later on. But we're in no rush on it. There's absolutely no rush.
President Trump, do you believe DeepSeek is a national security threat, and how do you plan to collaborate on AI initiatives?
On where?
DeepSeek, do you believe it's a national security threat?
No, I think it's happening. I mean, it's a technology that's happening. It's actually, I think we're going to benefit if it's correct what's going on now, that it'll be a lot less expensive. The AI we're talking about will be a lot less expensive than people originally thought. That's a good thing. I view that as a very good development, not a bad development.
Mr. President, on autos specifically, in your first term, you tried to tariff autos. Is that on the table still? Are you trying to do that in your second administration?
Auto tariff?
Auto tariff?
Oh yeah, sure. That's on the table. That's always on the table. It's a very big deal because we have cases where we don't supply autos and other countries do, and we have to equalize it. We have to stabilize it and equalize it.
Will you have Vice President Vance meet with President Zelensky next week while he's in Europe?
I will probably be meeting with President Zelensky next week, and I will probably.
The amount of glaze that he offers to China is weirding me out. He even mentions that China's education is fantastic, which is odd because that's like a thing that you normally wouldn't hear from an American politician, even though it's the truth, right? Usually, at best, Democrats will glaze like Nordic style social democracies or whatever in terms of social safety nets. I don't ever hear from even the Democrats in terms of like what China is doing that is good. Especially odd considering that He is the #1 China hawk, and he just regularly will glaze China and is also undermining a bunch of State Department cutouts like USAID. I don't understand it. I will readily admit, I suspect that it's because they want to, like I said, centralize USAID and stop with soft power and only go after hard power initiatives and just try to like bully countries rather than like offer any aid whatsoever. But it truly doesn't make sense.
To President Putin, I'd like to see that war end for one primary reason. They're killing so many people. You're losing millions of people on a battlefield. In this case, mostly the battlefield. You have 800,000 or 900,000 Russian soldiers are dead and very badly wounded. And the same thing with Ukraine. You have probably 700,000 with Ukraine. The numbers they gave are a little bit lower than that, but I believe those numbers aren't correct. I'd like to see it end just on a human basis. It's terrible what's going on. They have open fields with no protection. The only thing a bullet can hit is a human body, and the human body dies as soon as it gets hit. Now, I'd like to see that end. It's a ridiculous war. It would have never started if I were president. That war would have never started. Putin would not have started that war if I were president. And by the way, you wouldn't have had October 7th if I was president either. That mess would not have started. But no, I would very much like to help out. One of the things we're looking at with President Zelensky is having the security of their assets. They have assets underground, rare earth and other things, but primarily rare earth. And we want to have security. Really, we want security because, as you know, Europe is putting up.
Again, quiet part, but out loud. He's like, yeah, we want their rare earth minerals. We must secure them. Like, and it's not, I don't think it's rare earth minerals in general for Ukraine, but it's still like state-owned assets. I'm sure that there's like some mining contracts that they could get out of it too, but it's virtually every single state-owned asset or every single asset sold off to foreign investors. It's just like when he said, "Oh, we're pulling out of Syria, but also we're maintaining security over the oil rigs." That's it. Or when he basically said, who's going to buy these weapons? If we don't sell billions of dollars of weapons to Saudi Arabia, someone else will. Do you have $1 billion that you want to give me for weapons? Donald Trump is a very frustrating figure for a lot of Americans because he does have a tendency to say the quiet part out loud and never really shelter from the truth, never really try to massage his takes to ensure that there is some semblance of defending the international rule-based order. Now, ironically enough, there is no difference between the modus operandi of Donald Trump and previous administrations in that regard. There are some exceptions to this rule, of course, but ultimately, it's just the difference. The major difference is like aesthetically, he just very openly states what he wants. He won't masquerade and say, oh, we must protect Ukraine because Ukraine is gay and woke or whatever, right? He won't say that. He'll just be like, yeah, we want mining contracts. We want their natural resources. That's it. Ukraine is not that gay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. I'm just making an exaggerated example of like the ways in which liberals oftentimes will try to offer additional context to why they're doing something in a way that liberals will be on board with, okay? And the reality of the matter is people don't respond positively to that because faced with the indecency, when they're faced with the cruel actions of the American state, they're like, oh, but I don't like that because it doesn't make me feel good, right? That's it. Why is Hasan audio so delayed? I don't know. For some people, I'm still delayed, it seems. But for others, I'm not. So I don't know what's going on, honestly. I can't tell if people are memeing or not.
Much less money than us. Much. NATO, Europe, call it whatever you want. And we're at probably 300 billion plus, and they're at probably, the real number is 100 billion. That's a lot.
Do you want to do this real quick and see if it fixes I checked off on properties on my desktop audio. I checked off use device. Yeah, I don't think I have that right now. Like, I don't think it's, it's not device timestamps is not on right now. So I don't know why there's a delay. Timestamps. Toggle it, see if it fixes it. No, it'll actually make it worse if I did use device timestamps. Let's see if it worked. It's probably going to be worse now.
A lot of money, but it's 200 billion less than us, and there's an ocean in between. And they need it more than us, so we're asking them to equalize and get even. But we're also asking President Zelensky for.
It's worse now. Yeah, the video is probably worse. The desktop audio is worse. All right, I fixed it. Seems like a Twitch issue. I had to refresh and it started lagging. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I can try to fix the ingest again. 1 second. You'll see a brief blip. There'll be a brief moment of effing. Let's see. We're back. Is it better? Why does everybody say F? I know. You don't have to refresh. I'm changing the ingest. God damn, everybody's complaining about the F. There's no F. It's not a F. I did it. I did it on purpose.
The security of, we're putting all this money up and we're saying, where does it stop? And yet we want to see it out to an end. We want to see it end. But we are going to be asking for the security, and we've already told him, of an equal amount of something where our money, the American tax $1 billion. Biden never negotiated. He never told Europe to put in more money. And it got out of hand, just like NATO.
Rando, with another 10
we were paying almost 100% of NATO when I first came in. Everybody was taking advantage of the good old United States, but not anymore. So what, and now, if you speak to the Secretary General of NATO, who was very nice when he was here 2 weeks ago, he said what Trump did was amazing. He got everybody to pay. And to do that, you have to ask. And Biden never asked. So we're in for probably close to $200 billion more than Europe. And yet, obviously, it affects Europe much more than us. So we would like them to to equalize. They have to go more. And from our standpoint, we do want security and all this money that we're putting up.
And you're speaking with him next week, sir? Is that what you said? You're going to speak
he may meet next week, yeah. Whenever he'd like. I'm here. I'm here. Could be Washington. Well, I'm not going there.
Are you planning to meet with President Putin, or are you just planning
a phone call? It could be. We've always had a good relationship. President Putin and I have always had a good relationship. That's why it's so sad that it happened. This would have never happened if I were president. It's so sad to see it happen. So many dead people. By the way, so many cities are demolished. They're like, you talk about Gaza? Well, take a look at Ukraine. So many of those cities are demolition sites. Demolished. So sad. Should have never happened. All those beautiful golden domes, but much more importantly, all those beautiful people are dead. And it should have never happened. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Brad. Go, guys.
Ukraine is so flat.